Wanted to talk a little bit about consolidating your student loans and why that could be a little bit risky. So when I say consolidating, I actually mean turning them from federal loans, a bunch of different kinds of federal loans, into one federal direct consolidation loan. Sometimes when people talk about consolidating, they mean moving it from a federal lender to a private lender. That's perfectly fine usage of the word, but consolidation in this context means taking a bunch of loans and turning them into a consolidated federal loan, keeping it in the federal system. So in the past, this was a no-brainer. Now it's a little bit less of a no-brainer, and it's potentially even very risky. I'll explain why. So the problem comes with the new SAVE plan rule that got put under a court freeze, a block basically. That had something called weighted average credit in it. It said that if you put any loans into a federal consolidation, you would get credit based on the weighted average of all the different credits towards forgiveness that you already have. And with that rule that got stopped, basically that creates a lot of uncertainty for borrowers as to whether or not any credit that they have would actually transfer to that new federal consolidation loan. That's a really big problem. That could wipe out potentially years of credit towards forgiveness, and that would be really awful for people. So that's why consolidating, if you already have any credit whatsoever, is dangerous. Now, there's a separate rule with PSLF that says that you get weighted average credit towards PSLF if you consolidate. And while that rule might potentially still be in play, it's very risky too, because just imagine wiping away years of credit because of a sudden rule change or something that comes out of nowhere that impacts your ability to get credit towards something like PSLF. So consolidating, if you already have credit towards forgiveness, is dangerous to do in the moment. And if you want to consolidate because you're a new graduate and you want to get one loan instead of a bunch of loans, that's actually pretty reasonable to do. If you're a Parent Plus borrower that wants to get consolidated loans to take advantage of whatever income-based plan might happen for people who already have Parent Plus loans before any potential student loan reform bills go through, that might be a good reason to consolidate your loans. But some other people consolidating, even if you don't have any credit towards forgiveness, and consolidating wouldn't hurt you in terms of loan forgiveness, it could hurt you in optionality with how you deal with your loans. Just so, for example, you might have Stafford subsidized loans, unsubsidized loans, and Grad Plus loans. Each of those carry a different interest rate. And so when you consolidate, you make the new loan have a weighted average interest rate. Well, that might be disadvantageous because you might have loans with 3 to 5% interest rates, so you'd rather kind of leave alone. And you might have loans with 6 to 8% interest rates that you might either want to pay off first, or you might want to selectively refinance only those loans that have the much higher interest rate first, and be able to deal with your loans in chunks to be a little bit more strategic. Also, when you consolidate your loans, you also lose the ability to do kind of the debt snowball method, which is popular with some people, where you pay off your smallest loan first and then work your way up, which can kind of be a psychological victory when you do things that way. So in short, there's a lot of reasons to not consolidate your student loans right now. There's probably a lot more reasons to not consolidate your loans than to consolidate your loans in the moment. And so when we think about that, when we think about the upsides and the downsides, right now there's a lot more downsides to federal student loan consolidation than upsides. So something to think about, and obviously every circumstance is different. So you always want to make sure that any advice that you get that's broad-based is custom tailored to your situation. Follow Student Loan Planner for more tips like this.